Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about Mahoka Season 2 episode, let me see, what do we got here? I think this is episode 4. Anyway, everyone, I just want to let you know, I've been alerted to some weird errors that are happening on the videos. I'm not sure what exactly are causing the errors because I don't see it on my side until too late in the game. So I'm going to do my best to try and minimize the errors. I've kind of changed the setup, so hopefully that'll help, but I really don't know. I don't know what's causing it, so I can't go about troubleshooting it right now. Hopefully I'll be able to narrow something down and be able to fix it, but for now it is on the one thing I do know for sure is because of the recording software, so that's just, I think, something I'm gonna have to deal with. Anyway, Mahoka. So this is going to be a pretty big episode video. Because you know me, I love ragging on Lina, but actually no, I think I'm gonna end up defending Lina a little bit here, just looking at my notes here. But this episode I don't think is technically good. I think this episode has a few problems, and I really think when it comes to the adaptation, I think it's an issue of there's just too much going on, and I don't think the adaptation is all that good. There's a lot of critical details here. Critical background details that I don't think are addressed, and I don't have any particular respect for the lack of addressing them. I don't enjoy this in any which way, thinking of this as an adaptation. And I'm thinking of it as an adaptation, not reading a novel, because I'm pretty sure with the degree of things that they're skipping here, I'm pretty sure that the novel would not have done this. Just if we're looking at the history of what light novel adaptations tend to do, there's no way that the novel did this. This, I think, has been a really poorly executed arc. For an arc that features a new female character, that being Lina, I think they could have done better. I think maybe giving this 5 episodes would have been significantly better. Just because a lot of the things here are kind of falling flat with me. That's not to say that there's not good parts here, but again, I think what's letting the anime adaptation down is that there was too much stuff going on. Even comparing this to Danmachi tells you a very clear story. There is a very clear idea of what's going on, even in the background. Danmachi, when you look at the adaptation, it's pretty solid, but then you come into Mahoka, and Mahoka is just, it's too all over the place, and some ideas here aren't landing because they didn't give these ideas significant proper build up. There's a lot of question marks I have. One thing I do have to say here is that for this novel, you can also see very clearly the light novel structure. This is very clearly, at least in my estimation, from like, I'm estimating this based on understanding light novel formula, but this is clearly the end of a volume. Someone can please confirm that if you can. But I'm willing to bet that's the end of the volume, not just because of the episode count indicating that this would be the end of the volume, but because of what would happen here, right? This whole time you have Tatsuya barely missing Lina. You have Tatsuya figuring out, well, I don't even know, but you have Tatsuya countering Lina's thing. You have Miyuki and Lina's fight, and that fight also calls back to Lina and Miyuki's first confrontation in the school. It kind of calls back to it. The anime didn't do a good job there either, but whatever. Kind of calls back to it, and you have a whole new slew of plot details coming in at the end of the episode. That kind of delivery of multiple plot details coming at the end of the episode, that is 100% light novel structure. That's where the light novel is telling you all the plot details are going to be relevant for the next season. And so it's easy to see the light novel structure here, and that only furthers my idea that this was not well executed. Not because the light novel structure is apparent, but because I know now we are definitely in the end here, and they were clearly rushing through things. So because of that, this episode, or this review, I'm going to have a few dishonorable mentions, because it's also, because it's irregular of Magic High School, you also have the Tatsuya and Miyuki stuff going on. But don't worry, the dishonorable moments are not limited to just Tatsuya and Miyuki, and if anything, the dishonorable moments are just there for me to make fun of it. I'll try and make good points where possible, but we'll talk about the top moments right now, and then we'll go into just the full discussion of what exactly I think didn't do very well here, and what was lost in translation most likely. All right, so let's begin. My first top moment, Tatsuya versus Lina, the first fight, specifically when Tatsuya threw up the shrapnel blast. So that was just ridiculous to watch in just like, oh my god, that was pretty intense. That was hardcore. Seeing the shrapnel actually hit Tatsuya was a cool sight. It was a legitimately cool sight. And then we had a whole full-on breakdown of what Tatsuya was trying to do. Unfortunately, that full breakdown was just Tatsuya having a quick internal monologue, which always appreciated. That's definitely one of those monologues though that makes you think like, oh well, you know, I really should go back to the first season and just rewatch just to make sure I know all the terms, just because it was so jargon heavy. This is a legitimate problem with irregular Magic High School in its DNA. But, you know, if you're watching the second season, you already bought in. Like, that's one of the kind of negotiations you have to do with the series at the beginning. You have to say, like, okay, you know, I'm okay with the over-the-top jargon. But this does lead to, like, a few little problems in some places. Not in this episode particularly, but like, just in Mahoka in general. But again, that's just one of the... it's just one of the places you have to suspend disbelief. It's one of the places you have to make a compromise with the series. There's not really any other way of going about it because this is Mahoka's DNA. But still, I appreciated the shrapnel blast. That was pretty cool. My next top moment was Tatsuya on top of Lina. I pretty much ship anything that isn't Tatsuya and Miyuki just because of my bias. Personally, I like him and Sasagawa? I forget what her name is properly because I always forget the syllables in the middle. But I like her more. She's my favorite. I would very much love it if they have a political marriage. I think that would be cool. But yeah, no, this was pretty cool just because Lina has some good dialogue here. I really appreciate it. Again, though, anything other than Miyuki was fine for me, but it was a cool scene. When I see that, though, I definitely think, yes, that is some editor or, you know, this is like a light novelism. This is them saying like, yeah, we got to get Tatsuya involved. We gotta get more ship teasing going on. We gotta get more people riled up. We need to give people more illusions that Miyuki is not going to be the final love interest. You know, I do appreciate it though, because it was a well constructed scene, especially with Tatsuya holding her down and all that kind of stuff. I think that was a good scene. I think it was well constructed, and I think in terms of ship teasing, I think the team definitely accomplished what they were going for. I believe. So good on them. This leads me to my first dishonorable mention, and this one covers Lina. Like, why the heck are you saluting an enemy combatant? Like, it just felt really cringy when you see her all of a sudden salute Tatsuya. And, you know, I understand Lina kind of likes Tatsuya. You know, they just had a really intimate moment. That's cool and all. I know they're not strictly enemies, or I wish I could say that, because in the same turn, you see the girl holding a knife and being ready to kill Tatsuya. So it's like, you know, I think that was a big pony show. I think that could have been better. I think you didn't have to do that. It just felt kind of cringy. I know that they're military and all that, and I know maybe in context we can justify it. Well, you know, in the context of this is a Magic High School anime, we can definitely justify it, but it just felt a little cringy for me. We move from there, and I want to go into my next top moment. Lina looking confused. I know, kind of weird to call it a top moment, but actually, every time that Lina expressed emotion, I was really feeling it. Like, I really enjoyed every scene that Lina was disarmed, and so every scene that she just looks confused is a top moment for me. I think the anime just did a really good job with Lina's art in general, and this episode definitely brought the art quality. Definitely, like when you look at Miyuki's face, when you look at Lina's face, they definitely had a lot of resources to throw around here, and I think it paid off specifically for Lina. Another reason I really enjoy this in general though is because Lina and I kind of share the same emotion when we're watching Miyuki and Tatsuya have their moment. I mean, Lina's face there is just one of the best things ever, because yeah, that's how I would feel seeing that too. It's you know, bias, but still, even knowing what I know, it's still a little bit too much. And I like Lina because in that sense, Lina was my spirit animal for that particular portion. From there though, we move into this scene, a dishonorable mention. So you just think about how funny this is in context. Two people have guns out, they're pointing at each other, there's a ninja with a scarf, and the guy's sister is standing right there a few feet away from the combatant and is swinging over her brother, and her butt is sticking out. I just want to make clear, this is just a weirdly constructed scene. It's so odd and irregular. But I do want to point out, I'm not blaming the light novel. I don't think this is a light novel problem. I think this is just the awkwardness that comes out specifically from light novel adaptations, because light novel adaptations are horrible in description. The location data in a light novel is pretty scarce. You very rarely have any real sense of where characters are standing next to each other. Light novels do not prioritize description in that sense. So, you know, from the perspective of an anime, they see this scene, maybe they're reading the scene, maybe the scene does not have enough description, and then they have to make the scene work, so they just put all these characters together in a way that looks kind of awkward. That's ultimately what it is. This is an awkward scene. I don't think it makes sense for Miyuki to be standing there so close to Lina. I think that's relatively dangerous. You could say all kinds of things about Miyuki's disposition, overconfidence, or all that, or confidence in general, but it's still a weirdly constructed scene. I do think it comes out because of the lack of location data when it comes to the light novel, but that would be my guess as an anime only viewer, only knowing other light novels and the problems that they have. My next top moment was Lina saying 3 against 1 is unfair right after it was 4 against 1. No, this was really hilarious because it's just, again, like, this points out Lina's stupidity. She is a very, like, you know, it's just funny when you have this girl saying she's gonna kill the guy, and she very clearly has 3 people around her who are on her side, who later get, like, removed, well, like nothing. I assume that those people were from Stars because of the fact that they were aiding her, and I think that was a clever way of putting that in as a background detail. Like, I can infer that much, but at the same time, it's like, you were about to do the thing that you're yelling about, right? Like, you know, at that point, I do want to, the reason it's a top moment is because, like, I think this is just consistent with her character. I think this makes sense given what character we have in front of us, so props to that. But it is really funny, and it also is later on very funny that she just gets into the car with her enemies right after she gets told a promise. Now, see, if it was me and I was a dick, I most certainly am a dick. When she gets in the car, we're gassing her, and she's done. She's done. She's going to end up at a safe house. She's going to be locked up. We're going to interrogate her. That's how it's going to go down. But of course, that's not the situation we're in. We're in a wonderful, idealistic world where high school friendships matter more. It's a high school anime. That's totally fine. I'm not taking away. Like I said, this is a top moment because I think it's consistent with the themes of the series, and I think it's consistent with what Lina's character is, and I think it's consistent ultimately with the conclusion that they try to give us at the end with Tatsuya. My next top moment, this is kind of going a little bit out of sequence, but my next top moment is Miyuki versus Lina, sort of. It's a pretty scene. I'm putting it as top moment because it's an exciting scene in the anime to see the battle. I think the first phase of the battle, Lina's approach, is much more exciting than the second phase because the second phase just turned into energy spam, and I don't really care for energy spam, but yeah, it's a cool battle. We'll talk more about the battle at the end though, because this has to do with where the anime might have messed up on the execution a little bit. Anyway, next up, here's a scene. You can try and guess whether or not it's an honorable mention or a dishonorable mention, but Tatsuya holding Miyuki, and I can tell you guys, I don't know if you guys have siblings, but I most certainly do not hold my siblings the way that Tatsuya is holding Miyuki in this scene, and I'm not doing that even if I'm doing the customary Spanish cheek kiss, right? Like, this is not me. This is not, I don't think, any siblings that I know, unless they're like that. But yeah, no, man, you see this scene, it's like, this is where the anime is putting all their money is. This is pretty much the narrative hand of the anime saying, like, yeah, this is Tetsuya and Miyuki all the way, which, again, all the power to them. It's always kind of just a little bit too much to see this happening on screen. I mean, it's also kind of funny. It's just kind of, it's so pretty. It's so pretty, but at the same time, that thing in the back of my mind, I can't get behind this. I can't get behind this at all. Even knowing what I know, I can't get behind this at all. I wish it didn't get so much money thrown at it. Like, holy crap moly. Why do you have to hold her like you're about to make out with her? Why is that necessary? Just give an innocent kiss on the forehead. Holy crap moly, man. Jesus. Nah, man, but like, that does tell you the anime knows who they're aiming for, and it's just funny that they would even bother ship teasing when it's very clearly they're all saying it's Tatsuya and Miyuki all the way. I think it's I still think it's funny. You guys can decide whether or not you think it's an honorable mention or a dishonorable mention. And then we go into another scene. This one is going to be a little bit of a dishonorable mention just because I think it's not properly explained. I would really like to know why it is that in Tatsuya canceling out that magic power, he got blasted. You know, you have two forces, they're coming in at each other. How is it that these two forces being cancelled make the blast go specifically towards the one that blasted at it? That did not make sense. I bet that there was some kind of explanation in the novel, but the anime doesn't give me any way to really figure that out. And what makes this scene worse is just the horrible construction of this scene. Like, this scene is stupid. Because you have Tatsuya get blasted, and then okay, you know what? Let me look at the actual sequence of events because I don't want to be too wrong here. Okay, so you have Tatsuya get blasted, then you have Miyuki doing this very overdramatic line, "Brother, what have you done?" And then what is the exact scene afterward? Oh, it's Miyuki running up to her brother because nothing happened, and she's just running up to it to hug him, and it's like, that was dumb. That was so dumb. Like, why? That was so over dramatic. That's melodrama right there, and melodrama is annoying. Yeah, no, man, like that. I don't think that was a well constructed scene. It's just, I think honestly, you can have Miyuki running up to him. I think that little bit where she's like pointing out, "Brother, what have you done?" I can tell you what he did. Nothing. He did nothing. Nothing of value happened. Not even the mooks standing off to the side were hurt. Nothing happened. The line of "what have you done" has a simple answer. Nothing. He did nothing. Nothing changed. I know I'm getting really animated about that one, but it's like it's a dumb line. But no, it's sincerely a dumb line, and I think it's just odd to have it. It really screams that you just wanted to have Miyuki have a dramatic moment, and that really makes more sense when you go towards the end when they're talking in the car, because it really just seems like the anime just wants to have Miyuki have like all these wonderful little cringy kind of moments with Tatsuya. I shouldn't say cringy. For the people that like it, I'm sure it's helping the ship, but it's just it's too much at some points. My next stop moment was Lina and her crying. This is a moment I actually want to defend Lina a little bit here, because Lina's crying over the fact that she's losing to high schoolers, but at the same time, Lina, it's like, as I understand it, the high schoolers at this particular school, quite a few of them come from the biggest families in Japan, and I'm pretty sure that the biggest family in Japan are public information, and you were on the tail of someone that caused a big event, so I don't think she should be too upset about the situation going on in Japan, considering that so many of these people have so many ties to the military or to the big families. When you have two of the people in the student union forging an alliance between their two big families and they're the points of contact, again, this is not simple high schoolers. These are people who have, well, they're relatively high up. Is my point. Like, I feel bad that Lina's still getting caught up on this one. Next top moment was the info drop about the black hole. That was legitimately exciting. It's cool to know these things came from a black hole. That's just really cool. I knew that little bit of a detail before because I've read some spoilers, but it's still cool to get it. I'm very curious about that guy that Tia was talking to. I don't remember her name, so I'm just gonna say Tia, because I do think he is in the opening and he looks kind of creepy. Anyway, moving on. Next up moment was Tatsuya's decision to be rational in regards to him meeting up with the 4 other people at the school. I actually just really like that Tatsuya just flat out said, you know, I'm not going to let my emotions overtake me here. I'm going to approach this as best I can. I just think that was a respectable moment. It's always good to have a character say that out loud. And my final moment of note was Tatsuya talking about his emotions, or Miyuki talking about Tatsuya's emotions and him trying to rationalize what was going on. I do appreciate that he was concerned about Leo. I do appreciate that Miyuki was pointing out that, hey, you know, your emotions are a bit more fleshed out than you might give it credit for. This is absolutely important for Tatsuya's character, so that is definitely something that needed to be had, even though I think the scene surrounding it just feels a little bit back-patty, just with Miyuki singing the praises of her brother. Again, you know, it's just, I think Miyuki dotes on Tatsuya too much, but that is the style of the show, so after a certain point you really can't complain about it too much. But those are the top moments and the dishonorable mentions. Now let's just talk in general. How much time we've been? Oh, we've been here for more than 20 minutes. I apologize. But looking at this, now talking about this as a 4-episode arc, not great. You know, at the end you also have Lina talking about how she's going to be happy to see Mia, and she's getting all happy to see her, and it's like, Lina, why are you getting so happy to see her? You know, when I'm ultimately sitting there and I'm seeing that reaction, it's like, Lina, I don't have a full understanding of what exactly you like and what you care about. You know, ignoring Tatsuya, I don't have a full understanding. Like, I don't understand her connection to this Mia person. I don't understand how much she likes Mia. I don't understand her relationship. The anime did a horrible job with her relationship. Her most prominent episodes are episode 1 and episode 4. think about that. This is this girl's arc, and in episode 2 and 3 I get nothing about, well, I don't get enough about her. I instead have to deal with all these different plot movements. I have to deal with the Leo plot line, I have to deal with the Erica plot line. There's so many things going on here. And then we talk about the other plot lines. Plot lines are just here for what reason? The Jumanji's the main family plot line, what was that for? Oh, it was for just info dumping, and also to set them up for maybe the next novel. Okay, I can appreciate setup. You probably had to do that. Probably it's going to be a big plan in the end, but I would have liked more. Erica ultimately being shooed away to the point that they have to ask what Tatsuya was doing out last night. Okay, unfortunate. You know what? But she's this minor character. There's too many things going on. I understand. I assume she has a few more scenes in the light novel. Honestly, Erica, she has a pretty nice plot line here. I don't need any more from her, but it would have been nice if Sasagawa, whatever her name is, Sasuga? Jeez, Jumanji. I'm just gonna say Jumanji. It would have been nice if they got a plot line to the same, or they got the same amount of screen time as Erica and Mikihiko. That would have been really cool. What else do we have? With the Lina versus Miyuki fight, this fight was definitely going to be calling back to the to their first fight about how Miyuki was more strategic. And the only sign that you can really tell that Miyuki was more strategic was this line right here, where Miyuki's talking about how she provoked Lina. That is the only sign that you have that there was some kind of connection between the beginning of the novel and the end of the novel when it came to this fight. Them having a fight is 100% a bookend, but the anime doesn't go far enough to legitimize how much of a bookend that was. Next up, why did ultimately Miyuki and the ninja show up to help Tatsuya? What information did the ninja have that justified helping Tatsuya? That doesn't make sense. I was really hoping that someone was going to talk about it in this episode, but no one did. They just show up. So what is it that leads the ninja to going to the house after Tatsuya has left, a few moments after he has left, and sends them out into the field? What exactly changed that he felt that he had to do that? I don't have that information. I bet you though the novel has that information, because it usually does. Similarly, how the heck did Tatsuya figure out how to deal with Parade? Because when he's talking about Parade in this episode, he's only talking about how to deal with it moving into the future after he's dismantled its first feature. I still don't know what exactly changed between the first Parade that he couldn't really get a full sight on, and the Parade from last week where he could see the thing's full body. What is the difference there? I certainly don't know, and there's no way that the anime is giving me that information because of how quickly they went through things. I watched the episode 4 times trying to figure this stuff out, and it just wasn't there. And then we have this whole thing about how Angie's, like, Tatsuya in the middle had like some line about how Angie Sirius has been able to blind the world, and it's like, Tatsuya, I legitimately don't know in what sense you mean this. And this is like one thing I brought up last week, but I definitely don't enjoy that you have so many characters seeing Sirius run around and no one talks about it. Why is no one talking about it? Why is Leo not giving that information? Why is Erica not giving that information in a way that the readers or the viewers can see it? Because if I want to be cynical, I'm going to assume that Tatsuya is being secretive. He's not telling anyone anything. And I'm also going to assume that no one's telling him anything. What reason do I have to assume that he... well, the only real even possibility that I have for thinking that Tatsuya was getting information about where Sirius was Mikihiko sending a message. But man, beyond that, like, there's very little clues to tell me that people were actually communicating about Sirius here. And, you know, when it comes to Sirius, talking about Sirius would have been worthwhile because it would have built up all these lines that Tatsuya is saying about her. And then we go to the end of the episode, and this is going to be another point where I defend Lina on, where Tatsuya is talking about, like, yeah, you know, I knew Lina was up to something, but, you know, I just didn't want to make any waves, and then my buddy got hurt. I would have loved to have seen that conflict throughout the series. It is very hard to pick out where exactly Tatsuya had those feelings. There was only maybe the scene with Jumanji where he and the girl, where he was talking to them and he seemed pretty irritated. That's the only scene where I could have said, like, okay, you know what, he's really bothered about the whole Leo thing. Otherwise, I'm just gonna assume it's regular Tatsuya stuff. It's just gonna be regular Tatsuya being competent. You know, you tell me there's a problem going on. Tatsuya and his friends are the only ones who are ever even talking about it, right? These are the only guys who have any particular interest in it in their whole class. We saw so many scenes of people just walking past them as they talked about vampires, right? As far as I'm concerned, that was just him being, yeah, he was just being proactive and all that kind of junk, right? Of course, he did take more pronounced interest after Leo was in trouble, from what we saw, or after he was hurt, so you could definitely infer that. But I would have loved more of that. I would have loved more I would have enjoyed more rumination on that fact earlier on, instead of having Miyuki just kind of sum it up for us and Tatsuya just tell us at the end. That would have just helped the build up, although this is not one of the worst points, that's why I'm talking about it last. But within that as well, my big issue was him saying that he suspected Lina of something. Lina doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Leo got hurt. She is specifically there to prevent Leo from getting hurt, which makes this whole situation even stupider, in that, you know, if Lina was left alone, she probably would have been able to get to people faster, given that she got rid of one of them already. It makes it really jarring when you have Tatsuya talking about how Lina's up to something and he's the one who's actively getting in the way as well. Now mind you, again, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but it's just funny. It's funny the way that he phrased that, and that might be an issue with the subs, which is why I'm going to be really easy on it. Because even just saying that, oh, you know, I knew that Lina was involved with it, as opposed to I suspected she was up to something. Yeah, no, like the delivery of that line was just kind of odd, and I do think that might be an issue with the subtitles that I had. But it's still, you know, all these little things came together, and I just ultimately think, especially when you have Miyuki talking about what Lina means to Tatsuya, I do not believe it. You did not sell me on that relationship in the anime. I tell myself that I know that it's built. There's like information that's just told to you. You know, if the anime says that Tatsuya and her are friends, then obviously they're friends. But that impression doesn't come through, right? This is what ultimately separates a great anime from an above average anime. It's how far you go to make the little details pop out more. There's just too many things going on. I think they compromise on too much, and I feel that for a volume that focused on a new character, I think this has kind of let Lina down a little bit. Again, though, that's my opinion, not knowing the light novel. Who knows, the light novel might be as bad as the anime in this particular regard. But yeah, overall, those are my thoughts for these 4 episodes of Irregular Magic High School. What I'm ultimately left thinking, again, too much stuff going on, and I wish there was more of everyone talking and less of Miyuki and Tatsuya talking. I could legitimately do without Miyuki and Tatsuya talking as much as they do. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought down below. Until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.